This is the second video of my Minecraft timeline series, where I go through some of my own theories on the lore of Minecraft, and also talk about other people's theories. In my last video, I talked about how Minecraft's universe was created, primarily using the flames of creation. I talked about the hosts and the overworld in the end, and ended by introducing the ancient builders. You can go back and watch that video if you haven't yet, or other videos by different creators that inspired that one. But without further ado, let's pick up where we left off. An ancient race of player-like characters, known by most theorists as the Ancients or Ancient Builders, had been created by the flames of creation, and started to learn how to survive the dangers of the overworld. The Ancients, being smarter and more capable than any other mob at the time, would eventually group together and start small civilizations. The same would hold true for the Villagers, another similar mob, but one that was considerably more passive. The Villagers were content with their small, separated villages, where they were safe from the few threats in the early ages of the overworld, like hunger or any ancient predatory mobs that would have existed. Their safety was further reinforced by the ancient builders' presence, as they could take care of anything that could be detrimental to survival. The builders were likely more nomadic than the villagers, moving from place to place, at least in the early days. They probably mimicked human history in many ways, in fact. They'd collect certain materials and put their high intelligence to use in order to craft armor and tools, and, like I said, form civilizations. We can infer that one of the earliest settlements was the Trail Ruins, from the fact that most of it is found buried underground, and the primitive resources that were used in the construction of these small cities. We can immediately tell upon investigation that this was made a very long time ago. It should provide us with a very good idea of the kind of stuff these ancient builders were up to. One thing that might stand out amongst the fairly suspicious gravel are the broken pottery sherds. The sherds, once used in various decorative pots, depict the type of activities and nature the ancient builders experienced. They show everything from fishing and shelter to monsters and swords. They can be found in all sorts of structures, not just the Trail Ruins. Some notable sherds include the Friend Pottery sherd, which shows a villager face, indicating that the builders were friends with the villagers. Another important one is called Sniff. It shows a sniffer, a mob with 6 legs, a thick red hide, and a large yellow snout. Its huge nostrils are perfect for smelling, which, considering its tiny eyes, was probably one of its most useful senses. It used it to detect and dig up the seeds of ancient plants, its main food source. We can tell that the green fur on its back might be moss. The sniffer's eggs hatch faster on moss, and the sniffer used to drop moss upon death, establishing an obvious connection between the two. The sniffer's back does have a blue tinge to it, and babies hatch with the green already on them, so I'm probably wrong. Nevertheless, the connection to moss may lead us to believe that the sniffers originated in lush caves. Caves are also pretty cold areas, explaining why the sniffer might have so much fur. The ancient builders surely put their heightened sense of smell to work to find various seeds and flowers, or other things, some of which we can still find today. And I'd like to imagine that maybe they even rode the sniffers, since there are plenty of huge fossils that we can find. Maybe they were the sniffers, and they were a lot bigger than we see them now. And that's another thing. We can revive the sniffer by finding their eggs, which can be buried in ocean ruins. Speaking of which, the ocean ruins are found underwater in modern-day Minecraft, although they may not have always been underwater. How could a civilization like the ancient builders survive underwater? They need to be there, just like us. We can conclude that, while on land, these civilizations lived near the coastline, as suggested by the fishing pottery sherd and the sea lanterns, emphasis on sea. We also know that warm ocean ruins have sniffer eggs buried in them, so those ancient builders also had sniffers. This reinforces the idea that they were once on land. But how did this civilization sink? My theories range from flash floods to gradual tidal movements. If the latter is the case, these ruins are pretty old. However, the name drowned implies the ancient builders who lived here drowned and turned into what we see today, which wouldn't happen with gradual tidal movements. Then again, maybe they turned into zombies and then drowned, which is already a vanilla feature. Either way, I do think that these coastal settlements were created somewhat after the trail cities, but they may not have been too far apart in the timeline. I'd also like to talk about another ocean structure, the ocean monument. Unlike the ruins, I don't think that this structure was once above water, but maybe part of it was. The ancients built this monument to worship the hosts, probably after the hosts once visited the overworld and made their existence clear to the builders. To the builders, the hosts were their creators, their gods, hence the name monument. The hosts might have introduced the builders to prismarine, a special bluish material that you can only find in these oceanic structures. You can't find it naturally. I say this because in Minecraft Legends, we can clearly see that the host's home dimension, or headquarters or whatever, is made out of a similar material. The ancients used the prismarine to build a monument to worship the hosts. They also used it to build the guardians, who specialized in defending the sacred underwater building and the treasure inside. They aren't classic fish, as they can survive easily on land, which is one of the reasons that makes me think that they are some sort of golem rather than an actual fish. After all, they aren't found anywhere else in the sea. The heart of the sea is a valuable treasure that the builders either discovered or constructed. Either way, it is some sort of closed eye that's used in a crafting recipe with the shells of nautiluses to make the conduit, which is useful for living underwater near the monument. It can even be used as a weapon against the guardians, countering their abilities if that's needed. Anyway, what about some other civilizations? Another structure that I think is worth mentioning is the jungle temple. This one is a pretty basic one, with not many mysterious aspects to it. Just from walking through this structure, we can almost instantly tell that the people who built this place built these traps and codes to hide their treasure. That's really all there is to it from what I can tell. The desert well is another simple one. The ancients were trying to survive in the desert for some reason, maybe to build a pyramid, and needed water, so they built a well. I'm sure we all know what wells do. They allow us to gather water from the ground. However, from the looks of it, the ancient builders may have just taken water from elsewhere and stored it at this location to act as an infinite water source. I say infinite water source rather than drinking source because the player doesn't need to drink, nor do any other mobs, so the ancients shouldn't either. Ships were used for trade between these different tribes, or to find treasure chests from other lost civilizations, or to hide their own. But some ships were attacked by drown, or just failed at some point and wound up as shipwrecks. I haven't talked about the zombies yet, as they come later in the timeline, so I suspect that the pirates, or whoever piloted these ships, also came later. As time went on, the ancient builders naturally grew their civilizations and gained more and more resources. They obviously built things like mine shafts to easily access ores and different types of stone. Their customs and crafting recipes were passed on to future generations, including us. That's how we know how to craft certain items and chisel mobs into stone, even if we've never seen them before. As we venture through the world of Minecraft, we remember how to craft items. We recently remembered how to craft name tags, but some recipes are still lost to time. And that basically covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. The trail ruins, ocean ruins, jungle temples, desert wells, shipwrecks, mine shafts. I'll be mentioning the structures that I missed over the course of the series, but those I feel like fit better in other videos that I have planned. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the third episode, where I'll go more in depth on the builder's use of magic. Bye!